Welcome, Bros and Brosophians. My name's Albrecht von Stollen, and today I'm gonna be reviewing episode 3 of Taisho Otome Otogibanashi. Damn, Tamako's here! Will this episode be good? Before any further questions, let's go! Last week, I've reviewed episode 2, and that episode ended on a cliffhanger. The appearance of Tamako Shima. After an entire week of waiting, I decided to watch episode 3, and it didn't disappoint. We start the episode with the usual description of what a maiden is, followed by the opening song. After this, we pick up where we left off. Tamako showing up at Tamahiko's place. She gets called by one of 3 dudes and he tells her that her stuff's in the house. As such, Tamako pays them a tip of 10 yen each and they're all happy about it. I had mentioned in last week's review that the Japanese yen back in the 1920s had a lot of buying power. Here's a relevant clip from that video. So, why are 2 medium-sized rolls of cloth with one worth 12 yen and the other one being 10 yen with a total price of 22 yen deemed as expensive? This was because back in 1922, the Japanese yen had more buying power than today. As per a note from chapter 4 of the manga, 22 yen back then is around 50,000 yen in today's money. For the Americans, this means that 22 yen from 1922 would have the value of $500. Let's just say that the Japanese yen had gone through plenty of inflation over the years. In economics, inflation simply means that the general prices of goods go up over a period of time, which is what's happening right now in places like the United States and the Philippines. The higher the general prices of goods, the fewer the things that you will be able to buy with your money. The link of that review is in the description below. Tamako sees Yuzuki and assumes that Yuzuki's a kid. Yuzuki corrects her and Tamako's shocked. Hold up! Yuzuki says that she's 14. This proves what I had said in my review of episode 1. We don't know Yuzuki's age yet in the show, but it's implied that she's 13 in the flashback episode basing it off chapters 1 and 8.5 of the manga. This is because in chapter 7 of the manga, it's revealed that she's 14. Under Article 765 of the old Japanese Civil Code, the legal age for guys was 17 while the legal age for girls was 15. This was what one of Yuzuki's classmates meant when she said that Yuzuki needs to be 15 before getting married. The link to that review is also in the description below. Tamako, using a pointing stick to point at Yuzuki's kimono while being a chibi, had always made me laugh even in the manga. Wait a minute! Her stick is from chapter 8.5 of the manga itself. Meanwhile, Chibi Tamako started showing up in chapter 7 of the manga. Tamako continues mocking Yuzuki until Tamahiko tells her that she's being rude. Tamako reveals that she's 12 and Yuzuki for some reason is defeated. All because Tamako's tall. That's the Shima genes for you, my friends. Tamahiko says that Tamako has a tendency of giving passive-aggressive compliments to people. Tamako continues telling Yuzuki that she should stop thinking that she's an adult woman. I'll be coming back to this later. What can I say? Tamahiko's scared of his younger sister of all people. We're then treated to Yuzuki showing Tamako where her room is gonna be. First, Tamako declines until we get to the one facing the outdoors. Then, we get a small montage where we see Yuzuki making Tamako feel at home. Not only is Yuzuki strong, she's also quite fast. How's she able to do all of this? After this, we see a scene where Tamahiko is impressed by Yuzuki's optimism. Tamahiko explains Tamako's origin. That while she's smart, she's also quite lonely. Like with the part about Yuzuki being an adult, I'm also gonna come back to this later. Yuzuki really wants to befriend Tamako when Tamako shows up and tells Yuzuki off for being childish. All because Yuzuki wanted to welcome Tamako. Good grief, Tamako! Why? Tamahiko asks Tamako on why she is in his place as he's already dead to his family. Tamako laughs at how their older brother Tamaki, their older sister Tamayo, and even their dad Tamayoshi were all hamming it up. Tamahiko departs as neither sibling wants to eat at the same table. The next day, we see Tamahiko holed up in his room and not eating breakfast again. Oh no, he's not gonna try to kill himself again, is he? After all, he's depressed again, all because Tamako reminded him that he's dead to the family. Good thing Yuzuki's here to save the day. She invites him to go on a short walk with her, and Tamahiko the ever tsundere says yes. We get a calming montage of the two of them going up a mountain, complete with nature scenes. She shows him a small Shinto shrine inside a tree hollow. Yuzuki and Tamahiko mention that this is like a fairy tale. Wait a minute! The title of the show is Taisho Maiden Fairy Tale. Karaoke-san is being sneaky! Tamahiko, the ever tsundere, is blushing at Yuzuki's kindness. Truly, she has empathy. Since Tamahiko is the ever tsundere, is Yuzuki the ever dere-dere? For those who aren't into anime and don't speak anime, a tsundere is someone who switches from being rough and cold to his or her love interest into someone who is kind and affectionate. By contrast, a dere-dere is someone who is typically cheerful, affectionate, and energetic. As they're going down the mountain, they're holding hands. This is lewd! Holding hands is extra lewd! Quick! Put some censorship on this! Joking aside, they arrive at a wondrous scene of spring. Tamahiko remarks that Yuzuki is like a gust of spring wind that blows away the cold darkness of winter. We are now treated to a scene where Yuzuki happily makes milk caramel candy. She remarks that Tamahiko and Tamako are siblings indeed. Wait, is Tamako being a tsundere too? Is this a Shima thing? Tamako asks Yuzuki if she hates doing all of this, and Yuzuki says no in the most love-struck way possible. Tamahiko sees the candy that Yuzuki gave him, and she feeds him a piece. Damn it! More lewd! I swear, I cannot resist poking fun at that scene. All this lovey-dovey stuff is pissing Tamako off, and she storms out of the room after throwing down a piece of candy that Yuzuki gave her. Damn it, Tamako! Damn it! After the eye catch, we see Tamako alone in her room having a flashback. Unlike with Tamahiko's, which tend to be depressing and relatively recent in his life, to the point where he becomes an insomniac because of it, Tamako's are from when she was a kid. Also, her flashbacks in this episode weren't in the manga for the most part. In Chapter 7, all we've seen is the fact that she got bored after the all-girls school that she was in. I like how her experiences at home and in school are fleshed out in this show. Scared by the lightning from outside, Tamako asks Yuzuki for help going to the bathroom. After an accident, Tamako takes a bath and Yuzuki heats up the stove from outside, which would warm up the bath. The music in this scene is quite fitting, not gonna lie. After the bath, Yuzuki combs Tamako's hair and Yuzuki praises Tamako for having straight hair as opposed to her own fluffy hair. Is Tamako feeling remorse now? Finally! Tamako sleeps in Yuzuki's room. Tamako explains her origin, that she had a lonely childhood and that her experience in school was also very lonely. When she decided to take time off from school, her dad got mad and had asked her if she wants to end up like Tamahiko. After feeling that her home ain't a home to her, she ran away to Tamahiko's place. She then says that since relying on others would only cause pain, then living strong by herself is a better thing. And yet, here we are, Tamako. Here we are. Yuzuki tells Tamako that if she is Tamako's older sister, she'd make Tamako happy and that calling her big sister would make her happy. Yuzuki comforts Tamako with a hug. The next day, Tamahiko's shocked at seeing Tamako and Yuzuki making almond macaroons. After they've finished making the macaroons, Yuzuki offers some to Tamahiko, but Tamako grabs all the macaroons and tells Tamahiko that this is a ladies only moment. And so the episode ends. I mentioned earlier that I'll be going after Yuzuki's maturity and Tamako's loneliness, along with Tamako being a bit of a tsundere. First, I'm gonna go for Yuzuki being an adult. While Tamako looks like an adult due to how she towers over Yuzuki and is quite beautiful, she lacks the maturity of adult that Yuzuki possesses. Yuzuki doesn't hold grudges over Tamako being a prick towards her and Tamahiko. At the same time, Yuzuki is quite cheerful and even made Tamako feel at home despite Tamako being quite rude to her previously. Now I'm gonna go after Tamako's loneliness. We saw from earlier that Tamako was bullied by Tamayo and that their dad, being the overly busy man that he was, decided not to deal with his daughters. Instead, he gives money to one of his servants to deal with Tamako. Then, she's also lonely in the girls' school that she attends because it's implied that no one wanted to be her friend and all they've done to her is gossip behind her back. This is quite relatable nowadays, especially when social media is involved. As such, Tamako in this episode is a good character study of what loneliness can do to someone, especially when one has to deal with kindness for the first time after dealing with a hostile environment both inside and outside the home. That being said, let it be known that the way that she had acted towards Tamahiko and Yuzuki is inexcusable. While she did make up with Yuzuki in this episode, I have a feeling that she'll make up with Tamahiko in a future episode. As for Tamako being a tsundere, it's self-explanatory. Yuzuki is kind to her and she gets a bit embarrassed about it. The episode is quite decent for its musical scores and how it deals with Tamako's introduction in the show. Tamako in this episode is relatability done right, much like with Yuzuki and Tamahiko, unlike with a certain remake of a 1980s cartoon that was aired on Netflix recently. This episode follows chapters 6 and 7 of the manga alongside the second half of chapter 16.5 of the manga, pointing at the macaroons part of course. Yuzuki helping Tamahiko out of being depressed by simply going outside is a good thing, especially now with that which cannot be mentioned because YouTube. Like with the previous two episodes, I strongly recommend this episode, especially now that things are insane. Come join me next week as I'll review episode 4. Please like, share, and subscribe.